All right. So a lot of people had suggested I watch Oliver Stone's Snowden movie. So I rented it yesterday, and I didn't like it at first. Didn't think I was going to make it through the whole movie. Oliver Stone was using weird camera angles. Some of his choices as a director sort of put me off. And the actor is a good actor. I forget what the guy's name is that played Edward Snowden. But Edward Snowden in real life, when I've watched interviews with him, it seems like he's almost mechanical or synthetic. He actually says this towards the end of the movie that he has been called a robot in real life, and he seems totally disconnected from emotions. And it's hard for me to believe that this guy had some sort of moral crisis and that he was willing to do all these things. And so I've always doubted this story. But one thing that I thought the movie was great at and made it worth watching is in the middle of the movie where the Edward Snowden character is finding out everything the government is doing. And we all know these things, but when they're words in an article, it's a lot different than watching Edward Snowden and some creepy other dude turn on a woman's webcam. They're surveying a man, and then they choose to look into what his wife's doing. And she had left her laptop open, and they turn on her webcam, and they're watching this Muslim woman undress, and the other guy's getting off on it. And seeing these things, watching how Edward Snowden and the people at the CIA have to undergo lie detector tests, polygraph tests, and the security in which they go through. And I want to talk about that more at the end. Every day they're getting scanned. And then watching what they can do to people, it really hits home. You can really see how creepy this all is. So the movie does a great job at presenting what this is in real life. And if you think about yourself and that your laptop's open all the time, and like right now my laptop's open, and they could feasibly be watching me right now. So you think about that as being really creepy. It makes a lot of sense to leave your cell phone somewhere where they can't tape record you. All these things they have the capability of doing these. We've known this for a while, and this movie documents it. And the other part that made me sort of doubt Edward Snowden's story, at the very end of the movie, Edward Snowden character has stolen the encrypted data, and he's put it on a little chip. And he puts the little chip inside one of the Rubik's Cubes. He pops out a cube in a Rubik's Cube, and he puts the chip in there. And on his way out, he's scanned severely. They do a biometric scan on him, and it's a deep tissue scan, and they're scanning for any sort of device like this. And this is what these guys had to go through every day. They had to be scanned on their way out, and I think scanned on their way in. So you get a sense of what it's like to be a CIA agent, or in any of these organizations, because you're under suspicion all the time. You're on their radar, and if you do anything wrong, they just take you off the playing board. And so all these people that work for these agencies, they're getting radiated. They're constantly being asked questions and all these things. Kind of what a stressful life that must be. So in the movie, he has to, in real life, he had to put this information onto some sort of micro drive. And the way, like I said, he put it in this Rubik's Cube because he couldn't even swallow it or put it in his body somewhere because they would have found it. And he throws the Rubik's Cube to one of the security guards, and the guy starts to play with it, and then another guy starts to play with it, and Edward Snowden goes through all of the layers of security, and he retrieves the cube on the other side because it didn't go through the scanner, didn't go through any of the scanners. And I mean, if that's what they're saying really happened, that's how Edward Snowden smuggled out this data, then that's just not a very believable story. And so there's a lot of things about this story that's suspect, and it seems like they were just leaking this data so that everyone would get used to these types of invasions. Because I think the big three, Snowden, Julian Assange, and Bradley Manning, their stories all seem very suspect, and it's hard for me to believe that Bradley Manning and Snowden got this information out of their respective agencies. All right, well, like I said, though, the movie's worth watching just to see that in the middle part where he's finding out all they're doing and just how it really applies in real life. Seeing it in a movie format really makes it hit home. And these are just a few thoughts. Everyone have a blessed day.